In an ever-evolving digital landscape, for your business to thrive, you must adapt or die. Welcome to Marketing in the Age of AI, the podcast helping you harness the power of AI and marketing tools to revitalize and grow your business. And now here's your host, marketing expert and author of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI, Emanuel Rose.
He is the founder and CEO of Strategic Marketing, a digital marketing agency based in Reno. Emanuel's career began as a sales and marketing manager for a consumer electronics company, where he successfully generated sales with Fortune 1000 companies. His visionary approach and ability to anticipate trends have made him a sought-after strategic leader for branding and digital agency operations. In addition to his professional achievements, Emanuel is an accomplished author of several books, including the Authenticity series, which provides practical insights into marketing to Gen Z and leveraging social media for brand success. And his latest work, Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI. So you're probably wondering, what does that have to do with project management? Well, throughout that, he has developed an expertise in AI and prompting. So he is going to help us with that expertise and continue our AI learning experience today. Beyond his professional life, Emanuel is an avid outdoorsman, award-winning documentary producer, and his passion for nature and storytelling is evident in his children's book series. Please welcome Emanuel.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you very much, Diana. I appreciate that. It's always nice to hear what my staff writes about me because I never could make that much grandiosity over what I do.
I just let AI do it for me.
Very nice. There we go. That's perfect. Well, good. I want to thank you very much for having me here today. And is everybody able to hear okay? All right, cool. Really a pleasure to be here in the state of Montana and the town of Missoula. I love the fact that it can take a whole day to drive across the whole state. And no, really, I love spending time here, and it's a real treat. I enjoyed the dinner we had last night, and thank you so much for having me. Let's see if we can get this to work. Nope. Best laid plans. It worked in all the testing. Okay. I'm going to go to the auxiliary batteries and see if that helps.
I might have to just sit up there if you want and move your slides.
Okay. I might be able to manage it. We'll just see if the battery pack works. That is too funny. Let's go here.
Your mouse is over here.
Oh, thank you.
Extended, it looks like.
There we go.
It would just be what you were selected on because you had a video going.
There we go. Okay. Operator error. Thanks for the help. All right. As Diana mentioned, I wrote Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI. The project started in early 2021 and took a couple of years to get together. I published it in late 23, knowing that it would be immediately out of date. Everything that I had in the chapters about tools to use and how to use them. So I'm reluctantly getting the updated version back on my calendar and start writing another book that will, or another edition that will be immediately out of date as well. In addition, I have what is another pleasure of mine, which is writing children's books, which started as a gift to my grandchildren, and wrote enough of those things that it became good enough that I got encouraged to commercialize them and publish them, and have won some awards for it. They're all values clarification books and stories about natural history, and a way to tell wholesome, well-meaning stories to kids in order for them to get good values that we all believe in, that make good humans and a culture that is valuable to live in. So I'm interested to hear, are you the frazzled spaniel or are you the excited thermometer today? Just go ahead and, if you're the frazzled spaniel on the AI topic, just raise your hand. Okay, a couple. How about the thermometer? All right, good. So, and then maybe in between, anybody just, okay, that's fair, good. And these were both created, one's Stable Diffusion, the other one is from Starry AI. So very simple prompting can generate very specific images. Anybody have any messages from yesterday that maybe the group would want to hear, that would catch me up in what happened in your talks yesterday?
Hands-on experience. I feel like we did a lot of practical, like hands-on.
Nice. Anything in particular? Any use cases in particular?
It was really eye-opening. There was a podcast feature. I don't remember the Notebook, Notebook AI. But they he put something in, and out came a podcast, a couple-minute podcast that sounded very professional, and it just sounded like two people talking back and forth. And that was really, I'm new to the AI world. It's not something very locked down through my professional organization. So I just haven't experienced a whole lot. But that was mind-blowing yesterday.
Yeah.
For me, it was the number of AI, I guess, tools that are out there.
Yeah.
Because, you can choose from all of these, or you could choose from all of these. And I know a lot of them are probably built on like the main ones, like the ChatGPT or the Gemini or the Bing.
Yep.
But just the fact that there's so many.
Sheer volume. Yeah, it's astounding. It's inconceivable, the number of tools. And while we've been talking here today, another 5,000 have been created. So we'll talk about that a little bit too, because I have an assignment for all of you based on that. Yeah.
Prompts, and that was helpful for me to figure out how it could be.
Cool. Yeah, that's critical. Yeah.
I think it changed my approach yesterday. I've been using AI for certain things, but I think now it really broadened what I consider to be, AI first, right?
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, but the company I work for, they're doing some AI, but I never thought of doing it for personal reasons.
Oh, interesting.
That just opened my eyes up.
Yeah, very nice. All right, awesome. Well, that's all good learning, and we're going to dig into some of that stuff. Today, I'm going to talk about what I've observed as best practices from over 70 podcast interviews that I've done with executives and SaaS founders, and through my own experience, both inside my agency and deploying AI tools with clients. So we're going to dig in primarily into how to find, well, number one, prioritizing the use of AI, which I'm hoping that you're starting to warm up to, even if you're a little scared about it. And then how to find tools, how to identify gaps in your workflow and work processes, and then how to write prompts. And there's a couple schools of thought today. Again, in 6 months, in 3 months, the prompt writing will be completely different because the AI is learning about how to interact with us as we're learning how to interact with it. And it will continue to get simpler, and it will continue to be more voice driven and less typing. So what we're not going to talk about is AI that's built into the tools that you already use through Microsoft or Asana or Google or any of those tools. Those are use cases that you can figure out and use with that help or your IT department. But we are going to talk about is how to leverage the LLMs, these large language models like Chat and Claude and those sorts of tools. And then the software that calls on those tools, because pretty much all these new software are calling on the same engines essentially. So, one other thing, I'm not a computer programmer. I'm not an IT guy. I'm a marketing and professional, and I have been using AI since the first tool that I could find, which was about 4 years ago. So I have a lot of on the ground duct tape experience, but there will be things that I probably won't know the answer to if you guys got your thinking caps on. So this is my dog Texas, and every day when he wakes up, he has one thing on his mind, which is getting his bowl of food. And that guy, if I get up at 3:30 in the morning, he's right by me, nipping at my heels to get him his breakfast, even though he knows it's a 7 a.m. Event. So he's food first. What I want you to be is AI first. Just what you were talking about. So when you have a project that you're thinking, how can I get AI into this process? How can I get a tool or a chat GPT or something similar into this project? The leverage is unparalleled. Texas is a Springer Spaniel, and he loves to fetch the ball. He loves to fetch birds. But it requires me to be able to manage part of that process for him. So we have to be human in the loop. Just like with training a dog, we can't just turn AI loose and hope that it does what we need it to do. We've got to be AI first. We've got to be the human in the loop and pay attention to outputs and pay attention to that it's on message, that it's on target, and that it's not hallucinating. Right? You guys got the hallucination stories yesterday. Yeah. So sometimes it just makes stuff up, and it's usually not good stuff that it's making up. So some people describe it as these LLMs as like a 5-year-old. It knows a lot of things, but it's not the most worldly, right? Other people call it like a junior executive, somebody who's in year one of working, and it needs a lot of maintenance. I say you're getting C+ work, you're going to be a good editor. You've got to be a good editor in order to get a professional work product. And then this is Tex. He's always test closing. He's always testing if he can get one more retrieve, a little more attention, the next thing out of my time if we're together. And so that's what we're talking about. Test these tools, deploy these tools, and then innovate and change the way that you interact with it. And simple steps. And then the last thing is, sometimes we go on a big hike like this. We're in central Nevada, just hiked up one of those giant hills, about 2,000 feet of vertical incline for Chucker. He's like, there were no birds, Dad. What's up? I said, well, we had a good concept, but it didn't necessarily work this time. And so you want to develop a minimally viable work process with the AI. And I want you to start thinking about when you get a good work process that you're creating a minimally viable product. And that's why we have an avalanche of tools, is because people are using these AIs. They're developing and stitching together processes and softwares. And then they're like, oh, wow, this works for me. There's probably other people who can use this. So you're not just using it for yourself, but you're looking to see how you might be able to create a process that can go other places in the company, or be transported into other organizations, or even become a product, and you could become part of that flood of SaaS that's coming out. So the foundation is AI first, human in the loop, test, deploy, innovate, and then capture your minimally viable project or actually building a product. All right. Anything from that first little segment that somebody wants to ask about, comment about? Anyone? Bueller? Steve.
Sure. So you talked about prompts and prompt engineering, and prompt engineering is something that comes up usually.
Sure.
And I have a feeling that people hear that term and they think, I want to figure out how to do this. Prompt engineering, like what is that? A syntax? Is that a certain order of things that I have to type in? When the reality is, if you're just good at asking a question and asking a follow-up question, maybe a follow-up question after that, you're going to get what you want. So I guess my question for you is, do you agree with that? And do you think that maybe there's an over expectation of how difficult
It does sound like a software developer's term, doesn't it? Yeah, that's a great question. There's a few schools of thought right now on prompt engineering, and we'll dig into it at the last part. But I would say the simplest way, if you're put off by the term prompt engineering, is to get into chat, the most current version of chat, and then tell it what your outcome is, and then ask it to ask you the questions you need in order to get the outcome that you want. And then it's interviewing you to move you through the process. And then, so that's definitely one style, one camp. And then when you get more familiar with the type of information that it needs, then we have the Borshawa method, which I'll talk about in a little while. And then the other one is Wes Stringfield. So we've got 3 good choices for prompt writing, but it's a straightforward process, and there's not a right or wrong way to do it yet. The critical part is that you always have to have the challenge identified, and then hopefully a KPI identified as well, so that you can help to scope that conversation. All right, we'll keep moving then. All right, so we're in a big transition here. We have, just like when the computer came online, networked computers came online. I'm old enough to remember that. The first time we had everybody in an office all connected together. That was really exciting. Then we were sending email. That was really exciting. Then the e-commerce thing started. Obviously, that changed our lives. And then we had the social media. That was the next big bubble. That was a technological change. And this is where we're at now, is that AI is changing the business world. There's no way around it. Adoption rates are slow. On the small business in America, only 25% have adopted any kind of AI as a process, as a standard, and only 50% of Fortune 500 companies have adopted. So we as business professionals looking at this very obvious trend, it's our job as leaders to say, I need to dig into this and help my company adopt, adapt, and exploit this new technology so that we can get rid of redundant processes. We can get rid of mind-numbing work that the computer was designed to do. So there's a lot of hope that businesses have. And this idea that productivity is improved is a reality once you spend a little bit of time learning about how to manage it. So this guy, who's a professor and an economist, I think says it the best. It's our job, again, as business professionals to learn how to use this. Oops. So this guy on the left, his name's Jiro. He works for a company called PMP, not the PMP you guys are used to. This is an agency that works with attorneys, and his IT content marketing group uses it to uses a series of tools to develop content counters and content, publish content, those sorts of things. And basically, it was taking projects that were going to be 10 hours, and it was shrinking that down to about an hour and a half. So it's a major lever, which then turns his people free to be and go and do creative things instead. Did you cover anything about security and encryption yesterday? Just a little bit. All right. So we all know about the SSL and the little danger Will Robinson message that comes up on your browser when, like today, just trying to get on the internet here, right? You're like, oh no, it's not secure. So there's that secure socket, which is the way the browsers work, and then there is encryption, which is that whatever information I put in to this this engine doesn't just immediately go into the engine for everybody else to see, right? And so I have a policy that I don't want to train the LLM. I just want to have the benefit of the LLM. I don't want any of my IP in there. I don't want my books in there. I don't want anybody to be able to use my stuff without my permission. So that's where the encryption comes in. It becomes a blockchain situation where they take your data, they spread it into multiple pieces, and it's stored in a way that can't be accessed by other people. So this is a tool. It's one of many. I'm not affiliated with the company, but this is the one that I use that is both SSL and secure in terms of encryption. And the added benefit of that is they also have the most current LLMs that you get to choose from. So if you like Claude for certain pieces of work and you like Chat for other pieces of work, you can choose from the top 3 LLMs right now. And then additionally, they have built a series of chat bots or digital servants that would be like project management or content marketing or legal. And so they're already prepped to be an SME, a subject matter expert for the challenge that you're bringing forward. So it's a secure gateway that is also encrypted. So that's critical. If you don't use something like this, then the next version of that is to always use the paid version of whatever the service is. It's fine to do some testing on the free version, but typically you've got better permissions, fewer permissions, fewer things given away if you're paying for it than if you're using free. Yeah.
So that's very interesting to me. So you recommend using both? Like if you really, didn't want them to use your data to learn from, you would do both, I'm assuming, or what?
Yeah, I use this, and then I also am super, because this is not going to the LLM. And then anything that I don't want taken, that if I'm going to use a free service, then I don't use any intellectual property. And I just use it as a kind of a throwaway, just a testing. Yeah.
Can you explain what you mean by it?
It's not training the LLM, right? So every question, every document, every link that you put in, and every answer it produces, then that increases the pool of knowledge that LLM has. And so, it's a great way to find vendors, for instance. I love that for Perplexity, which is, if you haven't used Perplexity, I highly recommend it for replacing Google, because you come back with very highly qualified and cited searches. And so you can actually go down the rabbit hole of citations in a much simpler way from Perplexity. So, you don't want to put any intellectual property attach it to a free service, and so that you're not then putting that into essentially public domain. So that's a good clarification. Thanks, Steve. Good. Yes.
So is it possible with this to set something up where you are training it your style? So like if I'm in there and I give it feedback, or I did have IP in there, as long as I'm on the paid version with encryption.
Yeah.
then it's learning my style.
Exactly. Absolutely. That's a great question and a great idea. And the way that I've done that is I've put in all my business books into Avia. They're in a profile, and I say, as Emanuel Rose, write 3 LinkedIn posts about being in Missoula, Montana at the PMI. Put in the link to this weekend, and then it will write in my tone those LinkedIn posts.
Yesterday when we were talking about privacy, the public domain, you talked a lot about like sanitizing documents
Mhm.
before you go to this process. So would this prevent the need for that then and just keep things in?
It's more secure. I'd still say anything that is not yet released to the public. I mean, it's all with caveats. They say, yeah. So I feel better about it doing it this way. It's still not perfect. And it's kind of like even on the Chat GPT terms and conditions, it says, it's pretty vague. It's like, we probably won't be using your information, that means they probably are. That's just me. Trust but verify. All right. So yeah, I love the idea of building those personas or projects. And we'll talk about that a little bit with Claude too, is that Claude has a projects process. If you're not using a tool yet to take meeting notes on Zoom or Teams or Google Meets, then you really need something like this. And I love Otter. I use a few of them, sometimes overlapping. Otter has been the best in terms of being able to capture full meetings, speaker 1, speaker 2, speaker 3, all that stuff, but then producing by itself a list of important key subjects and then tasks assigned. And so it takes a little bit of tuning, but Otter has been very good with that. Is anybody else using a capture tool like that for meetings? Yeah, what are you using?
Microsoft
Team. Yeah. And so, yeah, Microsoft's got that built in. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Anybody else using a tool like that that's not baked into one of the programs? Who's recording meetings right now? All right, you guys, you got an assignment. So the easiest assignment is get those recordings started according to your company's policies, of course. So these are interesting and easy tools to use. These are the ones I use pretty much every day. I love Grammarly. If you're not using something to check how you write, spell, subjugate, grammar, it's a very straightforward plugin. It can live on your phone and your laptop. And I like it. I get a little report every week from Grammarly, and I say, you're in the top 90% of vocabulary users, of Grammarly. So, there's these little gamifications that keep it interesting. Perplexity, which I mentioned already. If you haven't tried that, that's a fun one. Like if you're going to go on vacation somewhere and you're going to drive to Reno, Nevada, and you say, hey, dear Perplexity, would you please help me chart a course, pick dog-friendly hotels next to Applebee's, and Perplexity will get in there and they'll run that for you, and then you can start to build an itinerary, and that's an easy no IP version of testing. Avia we talked about already. Starry AI is a really fun one for images. That was where we got the spaniel from. You're able to, just basically five words or less, tell it what you want, and then it spits out things for you. The free versions, pretty robust, and then you can pay for it if you want. And then if you're doing anything with, oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, right now that's true, and there are pending lawsuits, and I don't think it will filter down to consumers. I don't think us as the creators are going to get hammered. I think it's going to be the companies if there's anything legal that happens. But yeah, there are pending lawsuits on all this, both for visual and for copywriting. So it'll be interesting to see how that all shakes out. There was a lot of heat on that about 6 or 8 months ago, and then I don't know why it disappeared. I don't know if they settled or what, but it's something to pay attention to. Just interestingly, like I said, I don't think it's going to hit us.
I was just thinking, you know, there's hundreds of thousands of tools. In your opinion, how close do you think we are to having some sort of single sign-on concept where you're going to have 15 apps on your phone and you're going to have logins for every single one of them?
Yeah.
Somebody's going to make that simple, right?
Yeah, there's a CEO that I interviewed on the podcast, and his tool is, I think I mentioned this last night, is a hand identifier. So there's enough specificity on our hands, like a fingerprint, that we can take a picture of the hand, and that lets us in to, and they're focused on financial instruments. I don't know. I think that's a great question. I mean, it's a really obvious solution, and I love it. I love the directness of it. I think that there's we tend to just get things so muddled in the way that we allow business to happen in this country that I don't know that we'll ever get a single sign on, just because we love two-factor so much, right?
Well, I know a lot of the things that I use with a Google account, since I have a personal and our PMI board has Google. I can just say log in with Google.
Right. Yep.
And it will log me in and create an account for me.
Yep. Yeah, but then you always got to go back to Google and double verify that way too.
Not
Okay.
always.
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
But if I do, it's the same password. So
Right. Yeah. So it's close, but it's yeah.
I'm holding on sharing same password to people. No better.
Oh yeah. One password. You got to get one pass. That's the secret if you're not using it yet. Yeah. All right. And then yeah, anything that you're doing with video, if you're recording staff meetings or talks from the CEO or anything around video, then a tool like Opus Clips, which will take those long pieces, long form video, and chop into the 30 to 90 second clips. And so we use that for the podcast process. And then this is the MVP that I've been working on this year. And so I'm using a bunch of different AI tools, and then I'm stitching them together with the APIs and working to build a cohesive non-human interaction system, which starts with keyword research on Perplexity, turning those keywords with consistent prompts in Avia into email marketing, checking it with Grammarly. And then as people are on the internet looking for things, I have a tool that then takes and gets me those people who are searching their contact information, email, phone number, snail mail, and we're working on LinkedIn also. Push that into my CRM. So, and this is without any human touch. So they do the search, it goes to a CSV. CSV pushes the go high level by API. Then we send out email to them via high level. Then we send them, we do a follow me campaign in social media ads through a tool called Loop Genius. And Loop Genius is an AI ad creator and personalizer. And then everything then is directed either to my domain or to strategic e-marketing. So my goal with this is generate leads and sales, but is to secondarily figure out how these processes work by finding tools, connecting tools, and getting the humans away from having to do drudgery, redundant work that is not creative and crushes our spirit. So that's what I'm hoping that you'll be thinking about as we're moving forward the next few months. So the first thing that we have to do is assess our current situation, whatever that is, and see where we are not good at something, we don't have staff for it, or we would like to reallocate the staff who is doing it, and then start to look for tools or processes to make those changes, and then to develop some type of roadmap, some kind of a process map for how you're going to dig into the situation and what you think the steps are, timelines, whatever you can do. And then as a leader, as a business professional, it may be up to you to step in and help to develop at least a draft of an AI usage policy and help lead your CEO or whoever you report to, or your manager, lead them into producing this so that you can actually use it and get some benefit out from your job so that you can stop doing things that you don't like to do. But we have to take some leadership when we have this kind of knowledge. And then we meet Futurepedia. Bum, bum, bum. These guys are the aggregate source of tools, and one of few that we'll look at. So you just type in general search terms, you'll start to get opportunities to try out software. And I recommend 2 or 3 pieces or services for each process so you can get a good view of pricing, you can see the functionality. Any more than that, and you're going to bog down and not have enough time to do the testing correctly.
Sorry, can you speak a little more to this? So this, as it says, right, it's a resource for new tools. So like how do you use this yourself?
Like, let's say I wanted to find an API from Otter to email, and I wanted to try to figure out how I could get everybody's tasks emailed automatically from Otter to the team participants. Then I would go into the search bar and I would just say API for Otter or AI API generator, and then kind of start down that rabbit hole. So I usually just schedule about 15 minutes because otherwise it'll suck your brain and you won't get anything done. But it is a good thing to schedule it. Yes.
Acronyms you're using are kind of follow.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
So is the API basically
Yeah, so it's 2 pieces of software. It's the little highway that goes between them. Yep.
so if we were using like Smartsheet for our project management and I want if there's some automation in it, if I wanted more automation,
Yep.
I'd be looking for an API that connects an AI tool to that software.
Yeah, so you say, well, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So I think Smartsheet uses Bridge. Is there API? And then that will connect it. Thanks. Yes.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And then you just got to figure out what data you're pulling and sending, right? And then what the outcome is that you're producing once it's in over on this other side. So, right, we always got to start with the end in mind in order to have a good path. Yep. Yeah, Diana. Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yep. So here's another one, super tools, and same idea here. You just go up to this corner, and they've got a ton of tools. You can also get on their email list, and they send out an awesome email newsletter that has got tools, industry news, all the stuff that's happening in AI. It's kind of a nerdy newsletter, but I love it. I get about 5 of those a week. And then Future Lab is another one. So like in my rule of threes here, I got 3 different ones that I use, and they all work about the same. They all describe what you're, yeah, Steve.
That flow that you described earlier, that you use to generate, did you come up with that on your own, or is that a flow?
Yeah, that's one we developed. Yep. Based on real-time search leads. I'm like, if I can get if I can get the searchers from Google automatically delivered to a spreadsheet, which is awesome, then on a keyword, right? Like if they are looking for contract CMO, that search person, the actual human, goes to my CSV file. And I'm like, if I can get that done automatically, then I don't want to touch anything else, right? Like it was just a personal mandate because it was such a cool process. In the course of my career, I never would have imagined that we could have identify leads so quickly and easily. But we all have those things, right? That we like where we're kind of pushing emails along, like we used to push paper along, and looking for those places where you're wasting time, where if you're not adding value to it. Those are the things that the computer should be doing, in my estimation. And so, yeah, the ZAP or IFTT, any of these connectors that help connect software. Some of them already have built-in APIs, but sometimes you have to build these roads so that the software can talk to each other. And it's better if you get a nerd to do it. Don't try to do it yourself. That's my theory. Because these things, and I say nerd with all the love in my heart, because I can't do what they can do. These things can get complicated now. And then there's also people like Wes Stringfellow, who is a change innovator for Amazon and PayPal and Target and a bunch of other big Fortune 100 companies, about how to do AI. That's his thing, is training on AI specifically. Again, you got to schedule 15 minutes to be on, something like this once or twice a week, and stay current the same way you're current with everything else in your professional life. And then this was a cool thing. I haven't used it, but I saw that Claude now has got projects where you can build projects and share chats or curate knowledge, get people involved, all in an AI space, and have the benefit of these kind of team meetings inside Claude. So it may be valuable to take a look at and see how people are using this in the project management space. So, kind of a list of ways that you may be able to leverage some of these tools. There's about 15 of these, and I don't know if it's how relevant it is to you guys. Any of that relevant? Okay.
All of those things.
All right. And so what is really amazing is when you're able to put in 2 or 3 giant documents and then say, please help me as a project managing genius, pull out all the to-dos that I need to get assigned, or I need to see what resources are allocated, or that you give the computer, the software, giant pieces of information and have them tease out what's relevant. And I think that's one of the best uses. Cool. So AI first, human in the loop, test, deploy, and innovate, and build that outline of your MVP, of that process that you want to change and make your life easier with. Any comments or questions? Realizations? Do I need to bring the Kleenex around for tears or? All right. So let's see, is it almost?
We're at about 10:30.
10:30. Okay, cool. Well, good. So, like we were talking about, big documents are able to pull insights. And for instance, I was working with a client. We did 2 days of strategic planning, 2 full days of strategic planning, 16 hours of notes. And I took that otter, I put it in, and I massaged it so that we had all the action items that came out of those 2 days of strategic planning. Something that would usually take 4 or 5 hours on my side was done literally in less than 15 minutes. So that's a great use case. Always are obviously setting goals and what your KPIs are. So that way we know how we're directing this vector of technology. And then, like we've been talking about, how we're either plugging in this software into existing things or building a separate system. So the things you should never do, like we talked about earlier, which is should never just count on it to do a perfect job. Remember, it's a 5-year-old. Also, want to make sure that you're referencing approved, completed work as much as possible when you're asking for help with new work, so that it has a reference point versus just going out to the internet and finding stuff that other people have done that may or may not be on plan or on brand. And then never neglect, obviously, the testing and that process of vetting the software. So we want to identify the stage, identify the tool and the sequencing of it, develop a prompt, which we're going to get to in a little bit, gather reference material or reference sites, get your software going, get it exported out of it, and then review it in a number of ways, clean it up, and then send it. So, any questions or comments about the process? All right.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
On best practices, so the organization does not allow the use. I mean, like, we have integrated automation and AI things in homegrown built to leverage some of that, but I don't have access to Copilot and some of the other features that I learned about yesterday. What is your best practice tips for utilizing these in an external way and integrating it? Because, like, if I had a great API that would just allow that,
Yeah,
flawless,
right.
But I very much see myself in the future moving forward with navigating these tools on my own personal laptop, sitting next to my work laptop, or my
That's
cell
crazy.
phone sitting next
Yeah.
to my workstation here, to be able to benefit of the gravity of some of these productivity pieces that you're pulling forward.
Yep.
And there's nothing saying we cannot use AI to support that, but the system portion will not be connected anytime soon. Because we have a great AI governance committee that is wonderful at saying no.
Right.
They will tell you no. And so, any best practices that you can share for me as a new user to really leverage this proficiently?
Yeah, well, that's an interesting challenge. I mean, that's a tough one. I haven't heard about that. I mean, that you're actually going to try to work simultaneously, which is crazy, right? On 2 different
It
systems.
feels very counterproductive.
Yeah, for sure.
Like the productivity here,
Yeah.
right? I have learned so much, I've seen so much, even through my peers, or, yesterday, this morning, where it's something that I really truly believe would be leverageable and beneficial.
Yeah.
But I don't want to develop this wonderful thing on my phone or on my laptop. I'm like, how the heck am I supposed to get this
export it. Yeah. So I guess it's what kind of work product are you trying to push out? That's the first one.
Sounds like the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
I work in healthcare right now, and so PHI, PII rule my entire world, which is probably why my employer continues to say no, 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 no on some of these tools. But I just, again, there might not be a perfect answer. It might be minimal use on ChatGPT and Word, and export it to. I learned you can put things in Word documents, take that back over in a format that I can use. But you should know beauty best practices.
Yeah. Well, if you can push it into a Word doc or a PDF and then scan the PDF from your work computer, right? At least PDF is locked down. So it's in terms of it's not editable and it's the least crawlable format in terms of the simple things to use. So if that helps you, I don't know. Anybody else have any ideas of ways to run two systems?
You're probably just gonna have to flat out ask so that you're not terminated for something stupid and trying to it's short of emailing it back and forth or something. Yeah, sure. I just don't want you to see you trying to excel at your career and then you're like, well, I just got fired.
You needed to.
I was using Grammarly a little bit. I stopped, like, right after I started using it, we had our security training, and then I was like, oh crap, and then I let them know, and then when I asked if we could get it internally, like, they kind of hand wave and
Sure.
so it might be just continuing that conversation.
Yeah, and I know the conversations are happening in my organization outside of my area of government and things of that nature. I just, want to be able to apply some of the right thing in a way, maybe not for sensitive business documents, but for some of the more creative things.
Maybe coming up with some ideas to provide them to say, hey, look at the productivity. Oh, you're worried about security. Here are some things that we can put in place to help with security. So you're not just saying, well, I just want to use it. You're actually providing solutions.
The use cases. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Kind of like a project business plan. Find a sponsor for your cause that might help with any financial or IT leverage. These are the ways we'd like to apply it and why it's cost effective. See if you can start it where there's more thought into it other than I'd like to try this.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't do a great job in my presentation yesterday, but I kind of do it. We're all in kind of two groups. We're all in the group where individually, in our personal lives, with phones in our pockets, there's all things that we can do to kind of stretch into AI in that sphere. And then professionally, we're definitely in the two buckets where you're in the buckets where kind of, we work for in the entrepreneurial space or like do it yourself, where like we can just go out and do things, or we're in the space where no, we're locked down and we have to put together plans and pressure executive leadership saying this is the direction we need to go.
Sure.
And you guys need to. We're lending our support to you to do those things, and you need to inform us like what the plans are. If you can't deliver AI to us now, what's the plan to do so?
Yeah, I like that. Again, being a leader inside the organization. Yeah, Diana.
So along with that, I'm in one of those industries too. I am in the finance world, heavily regulated by the SEC and FINRA. So even like our transcripts, although I can do transcripts through AI, I can't do the video recording, but those have to go through a compliance tool because it's recorded. If it's on the phone, I don't have to do that, but anything that is written has to go through our compliance tool for auditing. But along with kits, I would say continue to use these in your everyday personal life just to continue to get better at getting back the responses that you want. But I also find that I do a lot of projects that are one-offs. I never do the same project twice. And so when we're implementing new things, I can at least go through on my personal computer and say, hey, we are implementing black line, and I know a little bit about it. What resources am I gonna need as far as role type, and what tasks, and build me a timeline. And so it's very generic, and then I take that information and I email it to myself.
Yeah, well, and it's, some of it is just fancy wordsmithing, so it wouldn't be the end of the world to put a prompt in my, ChatGPT or something on my cell phone. That's really good verbiage. I'm going to leverage that, right? So it's not necessarily, a direct correlation or integration there, but just to be able to have the extra superpower, brain power. that
Yeah,
we learned
for
about,
sure.
and leverage it that way. But, we are still, just like the other people here, kind of governed by a code of ethics. In PMI, we have our own ethical code as well as, my own personal organization. And so, like asking about how to integrate these without fully truly integrating makes me feel like I'm on like an ethical boundary, which we, try to avoid.
I think we can talk about it, can't we?
We've worked with them. I've made some wonderful connections here. Some people are like, we are so AI integrated. We just redid our slides using AI yesterday.
Yeah.
And so, in some ways, like, I talked to some of the folks in here who own or work or, startups. And I'm like, oh man, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, jealous.
Right?
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry.
No, that's good. That's a good. I mean, that's one of the situations, and it's going to move like that, right? The adoption, because it's so uncertain, like the legal things we were talking about. The bigger organizations are going to move slowly, and HIPAA compliance, pushing things out into the LLM. You never know what's going to happen with that. I mean, the data breaches we have now, even without that, is amazing, right? So, did you have something in the back?
Talking about regulation. Some of my clients are healthcare on some work. So we created, and this is way above my pay grade background, is we created sandboxes on separate servers. So
Oh, nice.
In-house, just like in the data company, we have a couple of people who have access to it. There's certain logins and things. And that hard drive wherever they send it to. One right now we're working with a software developer. We're doing the same thing. We're trying to figure out how to use AI with all their data for the customers. Right? So now they're trying to figure out AI, and that's one of my grade to understand what they're doing. But they're using sandboxes.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
But I want to second that because I'm in government, right? And Stacey and I both different agencies. And so, my boss is all about AI. So I know we have approval and there's a sandbox somewhere. But what I don't know, and I guess I need to figure out, is like, so what? There's this, like, not so what in a bad way, like, great, there's a sandbox. Hey, we're ahead of the curve. But like, how can you use these tools in that sandbox? I guess I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Because they're going their own way. It's not like these are blocked.
Right.
Right. Your sandbox, I'm assuming, has to be, again.
Kit, what do you got on that?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was going to say that I think the path of least resistance in a lot of these scenarios is going to be, going with what you already have. So, ChatGPT or even something like Grammarly might be the best of breed. But if your office is already invested in something like Microsoft or Google or Salesforce or Epic in the health world, I don't know, but if you already have agreements with the company that already have BAAs in place and security in place and all these things with that company, and they offer an AI product, it might not be the best of breed, or it might still be in development, but that might be the best way to go for you in the short term to get your feet wet, to get into AI. And all this stuff is changing so rapidly that maybe it'll be a good product, or maybe it'll be something that's within a year's time it'll be really well set up in the market. With these highly regulated industries, going with what you already have as a flex in AI might be the best way to go, instead of trying to, we need to bring in, ChatGPT and it's this brand new thing and there's brand new API concerns and security concerns. Like, just go with what you already have. It might be the best way to go in the short term.
Yeah, that's very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
I like to make sense of that. Which I'm not anymore. I like to do like information with open transparency of what I want to talk about.
you know, pick their brain about what the back end systems were and what the options might be. And usually they're so nerdy they know, they've already thought it through, and so they tell you everything. Then that would help you focus in on which technology might be already in existence or would be easy to put in place. So I think talking to your support people that would have to implement it for you, if you're in a lockdown environment, is a good place to start. It's also really informal.
So learning.
Starbucks card or something. You know, like you can win them over and get a lot of info. It's beneficial.
But that's also awesome for you. Like, that's a really good point. Like, there's probably already something happening in your organization, right?
Whole
And
department.
yeah. Sorry?
A whole department.
Oh, so you can, hey, do you need some end user, you know, boots on the ground testing? I'd love to have access to that cloud or whatever they're doing, sandbox. Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah, that's big value.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, and there's also developing, not that this helps you, but there are companies that develop standalone LLMs for companies or for a lot in the education space. So, for instance, an entire university's research papers will be housed for that university in an LLM, and they can call on all that content themselves, and it's basically a partitioned environment. So there will be solutions to these issues, but I love just seeing if there's a committee or a group that you can get in the sandbox and make sandcastles. Yeah, that's cool. All right. All right. Well, I think we'll take a bio break here. We'll take 10 minutes, let you guys get up, stretch your feet, and then we'll dig in into this part next. All right. I like that prompt engineering is not as tough as it sounds. It's actually just interacting with a search box. So this character, Jeff Borshawa, he's a Canadian, and he is like the mad genius accountant of prompt writing. He writes, his prompts are so thorough that he actually runs out of credit on the chat. Like he runs out of space, basically. So I don't recommend that. It's a little too intense for me. But one of the things that he does that is interesting is he asks for a lot of ideas from the LLM. Like, what do you think? This is my objective. What do you think we should do? And then he also says, what's best practice in my industry? What are my competitors doing? And so, you know, he creates some questions that as if it's a colleague, and very thorough. So that's one way is the Borshawa method. And if you're interested, you want to go down that road, I have a YouTube video of him just talking about prompt writing. I'm happy to send you a link to. And then there's this more what I call the genius method. And this is a little bit more what West was talking about on the show. And he was saying, interact with it, give it a directive, forget all other searches that you've done, number one. Number two, act as a genius in this domain, whatever that domain is. Project management, healthcare project management, construction project management. And this is the objective as that genius. Now, here's the parameters. Here's the reference documents or what reference websites. Please outline a plan and start from that what I call the genius prompt. No matter what you're doing with this, the specificity of it is really important, that you want to have one clear objective. Like, you know, if I'm doing in marketing, there's keywords, and then there's the words that are supposed to be around the keywords. And so we're very clear. It's like, what are the top selling keywords or sales oriented keywords for this particular, for university attendance? Right, so that you're as clear as you can be. I always use please and thank you and treat it as if it's my grandmother, because there is a certain tonality that gets different responses. That's something to play with. You could be an angry CEO one day and see how you get responses from the LLM. But what I've found is that generosity of spirit, even with the machine, gets you some places. And then using complete sentences, complete thoughts. The classic garbage in, garbage out totally applies here. That the less specific and the less that you feed into it, then the weaker responses you're going to get, or the what actually are more general, right? So can't really do much with general usually. And then use these contexts, like if it's around construction, you'd say we're doing this project in the months of September to November, and there'll be potential of rain, snow, and sleet. Some context, as much as you can provide detail-wise that way. Ask it for help. Oh yeah. Okay.
So I've seen this kind of come in two methods. One is the more threaded, where you do a prompt, and then depending on the results, then you hone the conversation through additional inputs, additional prompts to kind of get to where you want to go. I've seen the other way, where you try to get a perfect prompt, where you send out a prompt, and if it doesn't do the response you like, you clear the memory and kind of start a new thread. Is there kind of one or the other that you lean towards?
For me, I use both of those methods. It just depends on the project and how serious I am and how much time I have, right? Those are both great objectives, or ways to manage it rather. And then also, once you do have a prompt that you love, what I like to do is then go to another LLM and get a different answer, because you will get different answers. And then sometimes you get both those answers and combine them. So, there's always layers to these things. It gets dimensional. So this one is, we're just asking for help. That's what we're doing. Like you've kind of reached the end of your creative ability to write the prompt. You say, what else should I be asking you? Or what can you ask me to help fill in the blanks? So again, treating it like a junior executive, and then continue to adjust and I modify your prompts. Junior executive style. So that's all. That's kind of the big picture. And then this was the idea from Borshow, where you're saying, as a competitor, how would you approach this? As Marcus Aurelius, how would you approach this? I mean, you can ask for perspectives throughout time, throughout industry, cross industry, whatever you need to just kind of to spur thinking and get movement on writing some content for you. Obviously, we're using examples. Always proofreading, always editing, always revising, always human in the loop. Cannot stress that enough. There's no work product yet that's good enough to just go straight to publish. And then, of course, we talked about that. Biggest thing is you just want to establish whatever those fundamental requirements are, what the objective is, what your constraints are, and how that interaction with the software is going to produce some work product for you. Yeah, Steve.
Have you ever used a GPT to write a prompt?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what's so funny about all those ads that are like, get 10,000 prompts, for $9.95. You're like, why would I pay anybody to do it when I could ask the GPT to do that for me? Yeah, if you want a prompt library, you can build your own prompt library.
Have you ever asked it to write a really good prompt based on just one sentence?
No.
Taking all the time to write down, like, I want this.
I have found the general nature of the responses is not necessarily, but I mean, it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad starting point. Have you done that, Stephen? No. Yeah. No. There's another. I have an ebook right now that is fundamental right now, and I'm updating, so it'll be even more up to date soon. But that's available on my website if you want some place to start. And So we're business professionals. We're helping to lead the transition that's happening in our organizations. We're having to test. We're having to identify problems. We're having to test things. We're having to create followership, right? Like we're talking about, where you actually get your IT department to tell you how we can do it, and then becoming the experts inside our companies on how to use these things, so that as the coming wave of AI continues to take us over. I mean, I think we're only on the first quarter of this bubble, of this change that we're seeing, and the next 3 years, it's going to be inconceivable, especially around voice and around what we're going to be able to do with by just talking to our apparatus. I don't even think it'll be a phone anymore. There's products already out that are just little lapel buttons, and you're talking constantly to the service, asking for help, having it warehouse that information in other places. There's all kinds of great things, like you saw that podcast. There's a company that does collections, and you input your CSV with the phone number of the people who owe you money. The AI calls 100,000 people, 10,000 people, 1,000 people, and text them a Stripe link. So $79 a month. Most small businesses are going to pay for that in the first month, and it's taken away a chore, a task, a responsibility from somebody that was unpleasant to do. Most people don't like making those collections calls. The voice, the sound of the voice, the tone of the voice, is perfect and can be adjusted to every dialect, every ethnicity, every language. So that's just the tip of what we're going to be seeing. The chatbots and the way that customer service is changing, and we've all experienced that. I think that's going to continue to get more sophisticated. And the concept of being able to use a chatbot for project management in terms of answering the questions that you guys get from departments, right? And that you can warehouse your scopes of work and timelines and all those things, and then have a chat where somebody can just go in and essentially they're doing their own research rather than you having to pull information and give it to them. I think that's one of the spots that it's what I'm always hounding my project manager on is, what about this little thing? What about this little thing? How are we on timing for the new children's book? Those sorts of things. To be able to build an interface where people can go and get that information time shifted is valuable. So Texas, this is Texas after a duck hunt. He was running around, getting in the mud. Very happy from the process of eating and having me in the loop and retrieving things. And this is what I want you to do, is remember that dirty picture of Texas, and that we're going to stay in this mindset of AI first, human in the loop, test, deploy, and innovate. And then really thinking about how you're going to create these minimally viable chains of events inside your organization. And I hope that at least 3 or 4 new products will get spawned from the people in this room. Because it takes brains like ours to be able to figure out and see the breakdowns and see where we can take away drudgery and work that's not creative, and free up our time to go and do the stuff that is creative, that is emotionally intelligent, that is adding value that only humans can make. And that's how we stay in charge of this technology, is by continuing to push drudgery to the computer and focusing our intention and our energy around taking care of the people, humans, and environment around us. So that's what I got. Any other comments or questions? Yeah.
Since you have your podcast and you do a lot of different companies, what's the sense you get were the, kind of the top reasons for red flags hesitancy to incorporate this organization?
Well, yeah, there's a couple. That's a good question about why is there hesitancy. I think it's kind of a classic marketing curve, right? You always have this part, which is the innovators and early adopters, and we're just starting the phase up of what I'm calling, and I don't really like the word, but the democratization of all this, right? Like we have a retail ready version of technology that we've never had, and there's people that still don't want to put their credit card into an e-commerce site, right? So I mean, you got laggards all the way over here. They're still just cash, and that's cool. That's an important part of the market, but it's change, and change, no matter what it is a difficult process. And then there's the time suck. It takes a focus and an attention and a schedule to learn about this, and then where do you start? Right? Like, okay, well, I see all the Chat GPT news. I guess I'll start there. Well, cool. That's awesome. And, but it's all those things, right? It's just the human psychology.
I think that goes back to the question. Can't use AI for job because we're afraid of it, or is it blocked on the infrastructure because of security? It's really wrong to do it at home. We're not allowing, we're blocking on the website.
Yeah, it's a security concern, right? Yeah. So it's a combination, and then you make stuff on your home computer, and you've got a virus, and then you email it to yourself, and then you get it in the system, and then you knock down the whole network, right? So not that is what's going to happen, but that's what the fear is, and who knows? Those the bad actors are working just as hard as we are over here trying to get some value out of it. So I know I just had my checking account hacked from that, and I was like, wow, how did that even happen? My card won't even let me buy it from Amazon, and then all of a sudden I'm sending money to Pakistan. How did that happen?
And a lot of it is data storage too.
Yeah.
By the time, you have SharePoint sites with documents, and everyone's doing transcribing of meetings, and pretty soon your data center costs are like through the roof because we're saving every verbal picture,
right.
everything in 5 different places.
Smoke some out of his ears right now.
So I know that's been something as we talk about budgeting at my company.
Interesting.
Like, as we push different things, like we're gonna have to expand the budgets for these different areas to accommodate AI.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, Kit.
I'm a lot more optimistic about a lot of this AI stuff than a lot of people, but there's probably a few things that concerns me. So like Derek and I both work for the university. If Derek, has an idea that he wants to, get out into a blog post or an email or something like that. So he has his idea that he wants to get out, and he uses AI to, expand it out into a full blog post. And so then he posts that, and then on my side, I'm like, well, I'm too busy to read all of this, so I use AI to condense it back down.
Right.
And then we're in this doom loop of who are we creating this content for?
Right.
You could play it to, the podcast, scenario that you have an idea and, you use, AI to expand it out to, an engaging podcast, but then you have, consumers who may not have the hour to consume the podcast, so then they shrink it back down. And it's like, well, who are we creating this content for? It's just a weird aside that concerns me that we're creating content for the robots and we're not, we're just, on the side of the process.
It's a good point though. It's an interesting philosophical discussion in that we are, it's kind of like time shifting, right? When we first were able to, we don't have to watch the football game now, we can watch it later, right? So I get to decide how I consume every bit of information, right? And sometimes, if Yvonne Chenard is on a podcast, I'm going to listen to the whole thing, right? If it's somebody else, or if it's just Joe Rogan, I'm happy to listen to shorts because Joe's not that insightful, right? His guests are awesome. Joe, no thank you. So yeah, we do have this situation where you have bots talking to bots, to then somehow we got to keep the humans in the loop, and that's where the miracles happen. That's where we add value.
And I guess more accurately, I find myself like, oh, I should use AI to, expand this idea into like a project update.
Yeah.
And then I'm getting someone else's project update, and I'm like, well, I'll shrink it down to
Well, and it's a good point too. And then that goes into learning styles also, right? Like I only, when we have our weekly meetings, I'm like, everything's in 1 minute. Like anything more than a minute, I'm done. I'm toast. Like next, right? Some people like to dig into every detail. Some people are visual and auditory learners. So we have the benefit now of produce. That's how I always see the positive part. We have the benefit of producing it in every form, right?
Yeah,
for every learning style.
Ahead of the curve that we're producing it, that someone will read the log form.
Yeah.
But the more and more people that adopt these tools and are able to do this shrinking and condensing, is the larger message that's going to get lost.
No, that's true. And it becomes important for us as business professionals to curate valuable content and to be able to pull it out, right? And to say, this is a good source. This is a mediocre source. This should never be on my computer again, because it's just some bot blog thing that doesn't matter. And content curation has been a big issue for the last, really since social media started, right? Where we all became publishing houses. Every business has become a publishing house. And it's been an avalanche of content. Let's say if it was 10 times what it was 10 years ago, it's now 10,000 times what it was 10 years ago. And a lot of it is just, like you're saying, garbage. There's a lot of services now where you can have an AI blog posted to your blog every hour if you wanted, right? Like there's not that much useful information. From the marketing side, we're always like, well, who's the ideal client that we're talking to, right? And we're vectoring in constantly in who that person is as a listener, and we're trying to provide value for that listener. Not everybody's that focused. Yeah, it's a good point. Well, cool. Anything else we can dissect or philosophize on? No? Yeah.
So on your books, have you been using AI to help you produce books? And if so, who truly owns the content? Copyright.
Yeah, no, I haven't been using AI for my books. They're my creation. Yeah.
So the follow-up with that, what about your follow-up and storage with any documents? But I understand if you're storing it on Google Drive, Apple, things like that, you lose all of your ownership rights to that.
I don't know the ins and outs of that. I haven't heard that, but I hope it's not true, but I don't doubt it. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Now that's alarming.
That goes back to just your professional opinion. How close you are to the age? Right now, it's usually your own risk, right?
Yeah.
How close do you think we are to holding it?
I think Europe will do it before we do, and just kind of we can see that from GDPR and all these different email marketing laws, right? California and Europe are always the most restrictive. The rest in the United States is the most permissive so far. But it's the ethics of AI is the conversation that we need to have, and we need to. It's complicated because our lawmakers are obviously not technologists, right? And so you've got, and then you got the good side and the dark side in terms of, Facebook got pounded for their way they dealt with data and all that stuff. So that's kind of the dark side. And then Elon Musk is ringing the bell for the dangers of it. But he's not really favored by our government right now. So it's an interesting battle that we have, and it's an interesting time to be alive. Maybe a little too interesting, if you ask me.
I know you and I talk about it a little bit, but for everyone else, I'm of the opinion that a lot of this is going to be determined with AI in vehicles when it actually comes down to reliability with accidents, people's lives, and stuff. Figuring out, there's a person sitting behind the wheel with their hands off, the car hurts someone. who's liable? The auto manufacturer for producing the AI or the person in the driver's seat?
Yeah.
And how many people have seen the Moral Machine?
Mm-mm.
It's this website that like MIT or some group like that came up where it was in the early process, and I hope it's still up. If you have a chance, check out the Moral Machine. But it literally walks you through different scenarios with vehicles, and they put like, oh, like, it's always the car is going down the road and the brakes of the car go out. What should the car do? And it comes up to intersections. Sometimes people are jaywalking or not. There's old people or moms with babies. There's people who are in the lane that you're going into, but then there's less people in the other lane. Should you intervene to like steer into less people? And all these weird moral things that are directly tied to AI vehicles, and could maybe lend some thoughts into some of this other stuff. Josh, you'll have to tell me if Moral Machine is still.
Is it moral?
Moral. I think it's Moral Machine.
And I'm questioning, Brandon, when you were talking about Google owning and Dropbox, your proprietary information, is that from free accounts versus your paid account? Or is it all?
Yeah, but you read through the user agreements on those, the big 3 or 4, they all own your data. You're simply paying or you're having it there, but they have access. If you read all the way through, they actually are sending thoughts to the have. So, me personally, in my business, I can't use AI at all.
Yeah.
This question just asking.
All right.
Who should die?
Who should die? Awesome. Well, cool. Please connect with me on LinkedIn as you experiment and work on getting AI first into your workflow, and have questions or comments. Send me a message or an email. And other than that, thank you very much for having me to Missoula. I appreciate being here, and I appreciate your time. And I hope I produce some satisfaction for you. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Marketing in the Age of AI. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Your copy of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI is available at Amazon.com or EmanuelRose.com. You can also connect with Emanuel on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.